Right now, Orbán is isolated. Even the EU doesn't trust him. The dictator is being kept out of key meetings. Putin's ally is rapidly losing power. Meanwhile, Ukrainian drones are tearing up the sky over St. Petersburg. Air defense can't cope. Drones are continuously hitting fiery targets. The Primorsky port is devastated. And that's not all. Ukraine is testing new deadly sea drones. This weapon could change the game. The war has never seen anything like this. Shock. A hunt for Russian officials. A governor nearly came face to face with a drone. Was it an accident or an assassination attempt? The details will shock you. Let's break down what's happening right now. Hello, this is Ukraine Today. Maria Farafonova here with the latest updates. Even the EU no longer trusts Orbán. The EU is excluding Hungary from sensitive negotiations over fears of leaks to Russia. This was reported by Politico. The European Union is limiting the flow of confidential materials to Hungary while leaders are increasingly meeting in smaller groups. Concerns about direct data transfers to Moscow have led to the growing popularity of like-minded meetings instead of full summits of all 27 EU member states.
Overall, the less than loyal member states are the main reason why most of relevant European diplomacy is now happening in different smaller formats: E3, E4, E7, E8, Weimar, NB8, JEF, etc., the official said.
Earlier, the Washington Post reported that Hungary's Foreign Minister Peter Szijjártó regularly briefed Sergei Lavrov on EU Council meetings. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk noted that Europeans had long suspected this. As a result, there is now no trust left toward pro-Putin politicians. They had it coming. Russia's Leningrad region did not sleep. Good drones were spotted there in the evening. Russian air defense desperately tried to shoot them down, but damage still occurred. Videos showing air defense activity and the sound of drones were posted online. Governor of the Leningrad region, Alexander Drozdenko, reported that at least 10 UAVs were shot down. According to him, a crater formed from falling debris and a field caught fire.
In the Leningrad region, air defense forces shot down the 10th UAV near the village of Izora in the Gatchina district. The blast wave damaged windows in 3 apartments, and a fire of dry grass was recorded.
The explosions did not stop in the Leningrad region. Later, another residential building was reported damaged. Most likely, the air defense system failed again. And that's not all. Drones struck fuel reservoirs in Primorsk, Russia's largest oil port in the Baltic Sea. Around 4 a.m., the governor confirmed damage to a fuel tank and a fire outbreak. Photos from eyewitnesses showed thick black smoke over the facility. He also claimed that Russian air defense systems intercepted more than 60 attack drones. Primorsk is Russia's largest oil export port in the Baltic Sea and the key hub for shipping crude oil and petroleum products. It is the endpoint of the Baltic pipeline system with a capacity of about 1 million barrels per day. The port's maritime section includes 9 berths, most of which serve oil tankers. With a depth up to 18.2 meters, it can accommodate vessels with a dead weight of up to 150,000 tons and over 300 meters in length. Key facilities are concentrated in the tank farm, which includes 18 large tanks of 50,000 tons each. Additional storage for refined petroleum products and emergency discharge systems are also in operation. The terminal's total capacity reaches approximately 921,000 tons of crude oil and 240,000 tons of petroleum products. Ukraine is likely introducing a new type of American-made naval drone. One of the A-Gear W drones possibly used in the war against Russia washed ashore in Turkey after losing control. It is expected to be destroyed at sea after inspection. The drone is reportedly up to 10 meters long, can travel at speeds of around 45 kilometers per hour, carry up to 300 kilograms of payload, and has a range of up to 900 kilometers. The most likely explanation for how the drone ended up near Turkey is its possible use or testing in Ukraine. Previously, there had been no official reports that Ukraine possessed or was testing such drones. Similar discoveries have occurred before along the Turkish coast. A comparable situation happened with Ukrainian naval drones. They were first revealed in 2022 when one washed ashore near Sevastopol. That same year, they began to be used in combat and have since repeatedly struck Russian naval vessels and other targets. In recent years, Ukrainian naval drones have significantly improved and become an important tool of warfare. Notably, there was a case when a surface drone shot down Russian Su-30 aircraft. These systems have already proven their effectiveness in combat and may attract interest from other countries. If the United States is indeed testing its own naval drones in Ukraine, they may be refining them based on real combat experience. In the future, this could create competition for Ukrainian developments on the global arms market. At the same time, it is possible that this drone was developed with the involvement of Ukrainian specialists or in cooperation with Ukrainian companies. Russia claimed an assassination attempt on Governor Vyacheslav Gladkov in St. Petersburg. Reports say a drone incident occurred during his public meeting with residents. According to Russian state propaganda agencies, the drone allegedly attempted to attack people during the event. The National Guard stated that the UAV was destroyed by a special unit. No casualties or damage were officially reported. The Russian side presents the incident as an attempt on the governor himself, but there is no independent confirmation of these claims. At the same time, serious restrictions were introduced in air traffic. In St. Petersburg, the airspace was temporarily closed due to the drone threat. At Pulkovo Airport, at least 29 departing flights were cancelled. Around 10 planes could not land. Restrictions were imposed on arrivals and departures. Ukraine has gone on the offensive and disrupted a similar enemy plan in the Liman direction. What is happening at the front right now? Coming up next.
Putin simply wanted some new action.
We're bored. Stagnation. We want action.
On the bunker dwellers' orders, the occupiers launched an offensive in 7 directions in Ukraine at once.
It is worth pointing out that the last 5 days of March have become quite significant, very significant for our history, our military history, and for the military skill demonstrated by our defense forces on the battlefield.
Among other things, the enemy recently made their most massive breakthrough attempt in the Lyman direction. The Russians deployed forces from the 1st Tank and 20th Combined Arms Armies, using over 500 infantry, 28 armored vehicles, and more than 100 motor vehicles, including buggies and ATVs.
Driven by the need to show results, they ignore military logic and push forward wherever they find the least resistance, even if such moves often lead to serious consequences.
And those consequences arrive much faster than anyone could have anticipated. In just 4 hours, units of the 3rd Assault Corps turned the rapid Russian breakthrough into a total failure.
The start of 2026 for the Russians in the context of this full-scale war, well, we can probably only compare it to the first months of the 2022 invasion. But this is likely the bloodiest start to any offensive operation by the Russian Federation.
Just think about it. During yet another failed Kremlin offensive, the enemy lost 84 motor vehicles, 11 infantry fighting vehicles and armored personnel carriers, and 3 tanks. Additionally, heavy flamethrower systems known as Solonsepyok and 5 artillery pieces were hit. More than 160 enemy drones were destroyed. The number of killed and wounded occupiers is also counted in the hundreds.
It's, well, completely unrealistic, right, to try and rush through or even get past with vehicles today. So the infiltration continues. And again, you probably weren't really wrong to say they're definitely trying to hide out in the tree lines or perhaps in the ruins of the settlements they've managed to enter.
And the occupiers had been seriously preparing for this failure for several months. All this time, the Ukrainian armed forces were closely monitoring the Russian preparations. Putin's army increased guided bomb strikes on our crossings over the Oskil River, trying to cut off logistics, and began setting up their own pontoon bridges and clearing routes. But it was all in vain. The Russian army failed to capture a single settlement or any Ukrainian positions, only managing to set a new record for losses this year, 1,710 killed and wounded in a single day.
Russia attacks with infantry because they have a total advantage in numbers, primarily, of course, not in quality. The same applies to aviation, like army aviation specifically, if we're talking about helicopters and attack types, especially the K-52.
Well, Russian generals don't dare disobey the bunker dweller who's imagining a victory over Ukraine in his head. As a result, without recovering from one defeat, the occupying forces are preparing a new large-scale offensive on Kostiantynivka in the Donetsk region. The Kremlin generals even set deadlines to capture the settlement by the May holidays, which caused a storm of indignation among Z-war correspondents and in the ranks of the Russian army.
Talks about a stalemate in the war are becoming mainstream, about a government that couldn't care less about anyone, and about how it's time to stop the bloody meat grinder before it's too late. And this thought isn't from some armchair Z experts, but from actual soldiers of the Russian fascist occupying army. And this increasingly reminds me of the vibes at the end of World War I in the Russian trenches, when such talk became absolutely dominant, and the empire's soldiers decided that home was better than a dirty trench, and they were better off without their monarchs.
Russia is rapidly losing its combat aviation. Even Ukrainian FPV drones are now shooting down multi-million-dollar helicopters of Putin's army. The hunting season for the Kremlin's air fleet is in full swing, and it promises to be the most trophy-rich yet. Details in the report.
Ukrainian drones have become black swans for Russian aviation.
Not a good morning. We lost another machine. The reasons are still unclear. Misfortune never comes alone. A Ka-52 has been lost. One crew member was killed.
In just a few days, the invaders lost two Ka-52 military helicopters. One of the alligators was shot down by an FPV drone near Pokrovsk. After the chopper crashed, the crew was finished off by drone system forces.
The deceased crew of the Ka-52. On March 20th, 2026, a Ka-52 alligator attack helicopter was downed near Pokrovsk. The aircraft belonged to the 17th Army Aviation Brigade. Crew: Gimranov Timur Ildarovich, born December 5th, 1997, captain, pilot, deceased. Kuzuev Ilya Alexandrovich, born October 6, 1999, senior lieutenant, navigator, deceased.
Unique globally, but now routine for the AFU, the third destruction of a Russian chopper by FPV was done from a preset ambush.
It's a hit. Hooray!
This operation was prepared over a month, meaning the routes and movements of the Ka-52 were tracked. And the Ukrainian side essentially, carried out a situation with a so-called trap.
Meanwhile, drones with heavy warheads designed for mid and deep strikes are terrorizing Russian aviation deep in the rear.
Results of the March 17th, 2026 strike on the 123rd Aircraft Repair Plant in Staraya Russa, Russia, are clarified. Damage to an A-50 airborne early warning and control aircraft has been further confirmed. It was at the facility for maintenance and was possibly awaiting modernization.
During the war, Ukraine has repeatedly struck the eyes of the occupiers in the sky. AEW and C aircraft, each costing $300 to $500 million, have been hit by Ukraine at least 6 times. Twice these flying radars were downed by air defense systems, and 4 times damage was inflicted by cheap drones.
The destruction of this aircraft, given that their numbers are limited, is a significant and serious blow to Russia's overall ability to adjust and coordinate strikes using both aerodynamic and aeroballistic weapons against Ukraine.
Every day, hundreds of drones attack the territory of the Russian Federation. Dozens of them reach major cities, including Moscow. Russian air defense is failing. Crews are nervous and making mistakes. In the Moscow region, an anti-aircraft unit shot down a civilian aircraft. Aviation blogger Pavel Koshkin died in the plane, which was mistaken for a drone.
I see that flying legally is not difficult. So now, thanks to, Rosaviatia and other agencies, you can file a flight plan from your phone and fly wherever you want in 20 minutes.
Furthermore, Ukrainian drone pilots have streamlined the destruction of Russian air defense systems and their service companies, like Almaz-Antey in occupied Sevastopol. In March alone, middle strike-class drones destroyed more than 50 air defense systems at distances ranging from 50 to 300 kilometers.
It is about improving tactical and technical specifications. This means increasing the warhead and consequently the ability to use Starlink.
The drone war is evolving. Ukrainian drones, once focused on hitting infantry and heavy ground equipment, are now being upgraded. While FPV operators hunt for aircraft in the air, middle and deep strike drones strike Russian planes, air defense systems, repair bases, and airfields located in the rear.
Like it or not, Donald Trump has had to turn to Ukraine for help. Washington cannot cope in the Middle East without Kyiv. Details in our report.
Iran continues to attack quite successfully with its Shaheeds, and there is no worthy antidote to them yet. That's why everyone suddenly remembered Ukraine.
Trump makes many mistakes because of his pride.
We're managing on our own. We know more about drones than anyone. We have the best drones in the world.
Despite the extensive experience of Ukrainian forces in fighting Shaheeds, which are now attacking American bases in the Middle East, US President Donald Trump rejected Ukraine's offer of help.
Zelensky is the last person we need help from.
Not long ago, Ukraine offered the US a drone agreement worth $35 to $50 billion. It was supposed to be a joint production of drones and would have been split 50-50. But Trump showed his character here too.
This is a big drone deal for years to come. According to Zelensky, the document with Washington was never signed, although the American side showed interest in such an idea.
Ukrainian specialists will still help the US in protecting the skies in the Middle East.
In response to the need for drone interceptors, we are preparing a new initiative to become a mediator between Ukraine's industrial production and the military needs of Middle Eastern countries. And this is what we call solidarity in action. The Middle East will suffer greatly from any prolonged war. The same applies to us in Europe and the whole world.
Despite Trump's latest refusal, the American command invited Ukrainian advisors to fight Iranian UAVs. The Times reports on this.
So the generals say, listen, Trumpy, really, look at Ukraine. We actually need to work with them.
Trump, however, continues to insist that there was no help from Ukraine. Ukraine did nothing to help the US in the operation against Iran, and Zelensky's words about drone help were political PR.
Very strange PR when it's already published that more than 200 of our specialists are there, training local specialists there in Saudi Arabia, in Dubai. At the same time, American media is already pulling comments from our specialists there who are in the Persian Gulf, and they are causing scandals.
Ukrainian specialists stationed in Middle Eastern countries and using interceptor drones have already shot down several Iranian strike Shaheeds in one of the region's countries.
The Ukrainian team, the delegation is already at the Pentagon. They are talking. Specifically, one question, providing aid to Ukraine with drones and experts. An identical delegation is in Jordan, where the American military base is located. An identical delegation is also in Arab countries, where Zelensky sent them to provide assistance, consultations, and so on.
Ukrainians were shocked by the incident, with 3 F-15s shot down by friendly fire in the skies over Kuwait on March 1st.
For instance, in Middle Eastern countries, air defense assets were used in an extremely irrational and indiscriminate manner. The use of anti-aircraft missile systems was carried out in a somewhat chaotic mode.
America's Arab allies use expensive Patriot systems to fend off attacks from Shahed drones launched at them by Iran.
These countries don't have that kind of experience. And this has led to the fact that, well, at least until now, Arab states have been struggling to combat Iranian drones. More precisely, they are fighting more or less effectively, but they are spending quite expensive missiles to do so.
Gulf countries fire up to 8 Patriot missiles at a single target, using the expensive system even to take down cheap drones, each one costing more than $3 million.
Middle Eastern countries, well, they don't count their money and they have plenty of it. They can just buy more, but the problem isn't actually the money, it's the quantity.
Missiles aren't just stamped out non-stop, they are energy intensive to produce. There's no mass production for them either, but there is for the Shaheeds. And these lethal Iranian drones cause significant damage.
The United States, the Gulf states, and the Europeans will all pay much closer attention to Ukraine's experience, because Ukraine has experience fighting Russian drones and war experience in general. And these countries don't have that kind of experience.
Based on their experience, the Ukrainian military uses only 1 or 2 missiles to take down Russian ballistic targets. That's exactly why the Ukrainians were invited, to show how to fend off attacks more effectively and with less waste of expensive weaponry.
When it comes to Ukrainian technology, it's not just about drones that can shoot down aerial targets. It's also detection systems, aerial tracking systems, electronic warfare systems, drone systems, and other types of protection to shoot down aerial targets comprehensively. This is what works.
Through its actions, Ukraine can interest Gulf countries in investing in the production of interceptor drones created in Ukraine.
interest in Ukraine's experience will be very strong, and it's already very strong. And accordingly, measures will be taken to put this and other experience into practice, utilizing all the technological capabilities of both the United States and Europe, as well as the financial resources of the Gulf states.
Besides that, Ukraine has a completely different approach to work. During an enemy raid, operators from Gulf countries leave their batteries and head to shelters, leaving the Patriot systems to operate in automatic mode. Ukrainians, however, do not leave the units risking their lives. They control every step while carrying out the mission, whether it's intercepting ballistics or an enemy drone.
The excitement is very high when you've destroyed one.
The excitement is very high. When you destroy one, you want to keep destroying them because you realize they reach innocent people who suffer from the Shaheds. My relatives suffered too, so there's that adrenaline to make sure it doesn't reach anywhere.
On the contrary, the more adrenaline there is to make sure it doesn't reach anywhere.
It's worth noting that Ukraine has shared data with the Americans on the use of these systems for many years. But as we can see, the Gulf countries didn't give this enough importance, and now they face difficulties in real combat operations. Ukraine, however, reached out to its allies and once again showed the whole world its superpowers.
That's all for now. Stay with us to be the first to know what's happening right now. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. See you soon!